Okay. Hey. So, hi. Welcome to Deep Dark Doom Metal Yoga. Moving now to Thursday nights or Friday afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world. I was talking about this a little bit on Sunday, and I'm just going to keep it the same talk. We're going to be changing things up every week, but this will be kind of similar to where we were at on Sunday. I was talking about the cartoon Dragon Ball Z and the character Goku and how he's like the dopey, awesome, like world-saving, top of the world kind of guy, and there's this character Vegeta that's always just trying to like get better than him, and not for the sake of actually like being better, but just for the sake of beating him. And it's very clear as you watch like the development of this show, it's kind of neat how they've worked it in there that that Vegeta's like bad attitude is part of what really holds him back from achieving this level that Goku has. And part of Goku's success is based on the fact that he is willing to actually learn things, willing to increase his own skills for the sake of just doing the right thing for himself and his community, and not just to try to beat others. Because really, like, when we look at these ideas of feats of strength, the real value and like the point of doing this stuff is to challenge and increase what we're doing, not to like be the best at a thing. Because being the best is a zero-sum game, and it's a fallacy, and it's not how the world really works, and it doesn't really serve us to move into the world in that way. Like, if there's like probably almost 10 people who are engaged in this, if we're going at like whoever's the best at down dog, then like 9 people are not going to enjoy down dog as much if somebody else just has to get to the best at it. But if each of us goes in and does a down dog, and we're present and we're breathing and we're just there with it the best we can and give ourselves the breaks sometimes that we need, then each of us is having an awesome experience in down dog and getting invested in our practice and growing in our practice and meeting ourselves where we're at. That's what this is. This is about trying to have the best experience personally. So as I throw some stuff out, if some of it just doesn't jive with your body, if you're not feeling super into it, if you want to stop before I say stop, stop before I say stop, back things off, take some slightly softer modifications, or just pop a squat for a moment. Oh, on that note, I'm sitting on my heels right now. This is feeling better in my hips. They've been a little bit sore lately. Sit however you want. Seriously, sit however it makes sense in your body. Crisscross applesauce, just plop your legs out in front of you, sit up on the couch. It really does not matter. Just find a comfortable seat. So that as we begin practice, we'll get into this stuff I call face brushing, we'll do some oming, and then we'll get moving. Mess up my bangs anyway. So take your index finger and your thumb together. The squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb, bring that to the center of your forehead and brush outwards towards your temples a few times. And then going from the sides of your nose out to your temples, along your cheekbones, and from your temples down to your chin, along your jawline, and the sides of your nose down to your chin along your laugh lines. And what this is doing is just kind of brushing away whatever you've carried with you throughout the day or throughout the morning. And taking your fingertips, bringing them underneath and behind your ears. You're going to massage the soft spot back there and then work upwards to the bony spot and lift up from the bony spot. And then I'm going to put my bangs back in place. It's driving me crazy. Just lengthening the spine here. I say brush whatever you've been carrying throughout the day off because I just want to start with a bit of a cleaner slate. Being open and ready to receive whatever this practice has for us. Take a nice big breath in. Rest your hands down into your lap. Just whatever is comfortable to you in resting those hands. And if it feels comfortable to you, close your eyes. We're just going to take a few deep breaths. Maybe in and out through your nose or just through your mouth, however you're able to breathe. When we take this time, as I say, like we meditate and we pause, not to get good at breathing. Take this time, acknowledge the breath as a tool to become a little bit more present, a little bit more centered. Next time you take a breath in through your nose, let out a big exhale through your mouth. Again, like that. 3 ohms or death growlers or whatever's going to come out. Take a big inhale. As you blink your eyes back open, if you need to change the way you're seated, maybe cross or uncross your legs, do what you gotta do. You're gonna take your right hand down to your side, reach your left arm up and over, and find a nice big side stretch. So you wanna feel that left side of your body filling up as you breathe in, and then soften as you exhale. Again, like that, big inhale. Exhale, soften, and lift yourself up through the center. We'll take the other side. Take your left hand down, reach up and out through your right side. So you really want to fill that up, like feel the skin stretch up. Breathe in. Stay there, exhale. One more breath. And then come up through the center. We're going to side bend again, but this time take your arm and reach it out. So I'm going to take the left fingertips and reach out, and then relax your right ear down towards your right shoulder. One more exhale. Then relax your arm, lift up, and then take another lift into the spine, reach your arms up, and then your left hand comes down, your right side stretches out, but then your arm's gonna reach out to the side here. So I'm just stretching out long through that arm. And then relax your left ear towards your left shoulder. One more breath out. And then come up to the center, lift your arms up, and then pull your elbows out wide so you're getting a nice big stretch through your chest. Take another big breath in. Exhale, soften. And then you're going to take your right elbow on top of your left elbow, and you can take this like a crossed V superhero thing, or hold your shoulders, or wrap up your hands in eagle arms. Just press your elbows together and press them forward. Take one more inhale. One more exhale. And unwind your arms. Pull those elbows out wide. Lift your chest up. Big breath in. Big breath out. And switch the elbows. So you're going to take the left elbow on top here, here, or here. Just picking some place where you can feel a nice stretch along the backs of the shoulders. One more inhale. Breathing out. And then release your arms. Take your elbows out wide again. Big breath in. Breathing out. Relaxing your arms down. We're going to come to a seat. So if you've been sitting with your legs in front of you, great. You're already there. If you need to unravel your legs or take them out from underneath you, that's what you'll do. You'll take your hands back behind you. Try to have your hands facing forward or a little bit out to the side, but not back behind you. You want to keep elbows drawn back to lift the chest. In fact, push down a little bit more into your hands. Feel your chest lift up a little bit more. You might have some bent elbows. You might take your hands a little bit wider to accommodate any tightness in the shoulders. You're just going to feel the front of the heart expanding. and then softening. Just with the breath. Inhale, lift that chest. Exhale, soften it once more. Relax as you exhale, and then go ahead and come off of your hands. You want some room behind you. You might have to scooch like I am here. We're gonna reach the arms out in front, lift your toes, lift your legs. You might have to put a little bend in the knees as you go. All good. As slow as you want to. Start to roll down through your spine, coming down onto the floor. And reach your arms back, take a big inhale. Exhale, soften. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, maybe a little rock around. And then open your arms. Let your knees roll over towards the right, and you'll just kind of hang out there. I'm in a little bit more open of a twist than I could get into. Just letting the hips relax. Just take 2 more breaths. Then you're going to take your knees over to the other side, so just roll it over into a similar feeling twist. Let your tummy soften when you exhale. 1 more breath out. Come back to the center. Set your feet down and then put your right ankle on your left knee. You can stay here, you can press this thigh forward, you could reach the right arm in between the legs and hold onto your left thigh. And if that makes your chin jut up and your shoulders jut up and you don't feel quite so steady, you're going to grab something, anything, a book, a pillow, a hoodie, the dog. Set them underneath your head just so that you're not trying so hard, just to simply be here. Again, back to that whole, you're having your own experience and you're having your own growth and your own practice, and so find a way to make it work for you. If you ever want to ask me questions like later or whenever, I'm always here for that. Take an inhale. Soften on your exhale. Again, inhale. Again, exhale. And then keep your ankle on your knee. Go ahead and relax your left foot down. I will warn you, this might be a little bit intense what we're about to do. So if you need to find another way to come up to seated, skip the rocking part. But what you might do is grab back onto this leg. And then you're going to start rocking yourself up until you come up to a seat. Good. And if you missed and you fell over and you just got to come up and put the ankle on the knee, just come up and put the ankle on the knee. You're going to take your hands back behind you. And then start to push into your hands, lift your heart up. This could be a lot. Or you could say, I don't know, maybe I could scooch my foot a little bit closer to my hip. Maybe your hands can come closer to your hips. Mine are not today. Like the more I've been doing this today, the tighter things have been getting. Like I mentioned, little hips sore. See if you can lift your heart up. Take another inhale. Oh, soften as you exhale. Unwind that right leg. Slide your legs out in front of you. Lift your heart, lift your arms. And then slowly as you want to, start to roll down onto your back. And then whenever you get down there, bend the right leg, bend the left leg, put the left ankle on the right knee, and then you're hanging out there or grabbing onto your left thigh. Notice where the tightness is. Try to let it be soft. Let it just dissipate, relax. You don't have to force it, just giving your body permission to let there be some change, some shift. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then you can let the foot be down and try to sit up or roll over or unwind yourself, or try to hold on to the thigh and bring yourself all the way up. Good. And then hands go back again. You might bring the foot in a little bit closer, or not quite as close as it was on the other side. My foot is asking me not to be as close as it was on the other side. I'm still going to try to lift the chest up. Good. 2 more breaths. And then exhale. Relax, back it off, unwind that leg. We're going to come all the way down to, or we're going to swing the legs around and come onto our hands and knees. So if you're not on a super squishy floor like I am, you might grab something and put it underneath your knees just to give yourself a little extra love and protection there. And then we'll work through some cat and cow. So drop your belly and look up, take a breath in. And then as you exhale, round your spine and tuck your tailbone. If it doesn't feel good to be on your wrist, I want you to come to your fingertips or your fists, but you're still going to keep moving. Inhale, opening up the front of the body. Exhale, opening up the back. And you go at your own pace. Just trying to work through the spine. And think of that tilting of the pelvis. 2 more full breaths. And on your next inhale, relaxing towards a more neutral spine, and you're going to take your right leg and slide it out to the right side. I like to let the pinky toe edge of the foot drop down just to stretch the outer shin a little bit more. It's fine if it doesn't go all the way. We're going to start working through a little bit more of that cat and cow again. It's going to feel weird because you're not symmetric as the way you're set up in the body anymore. Just drop your belly, look up, lift your tail, breathe in, and then exhale, round your spine, tuck that tailbone. Inhale, you tilt the pelvis forward, look up. Exhale, tilt the pelvis back. Take 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale. And then relax, coming back to neutral. You can hang out here. You can let that tailbone roll up. You can come to one forearm, both forearms, lower than the forearms, whatever feels good to you. You stop when you feel like you're doing something good, that you're not like overworking anything, stretching, pulling, or feeling generally uncomfortable. You want to go, okay, I feel like this is useful, getting a stretch, able to breathe, able to be present. 2 more breaths. And then gently starting to work yourself back up onto your hands, bring your right knee in, and then slide your left leg out to the side. So I am trying to notice my foot kind of disappears here because it's about in line with my hip and my knee. Pinky toe edge of the foot down again. And then inhale, lifting your heart and your tail. Exhale, rounding in. Inhale, we call it cow pose. Exhale, like a Halloween cat. And take 2 more. And then relaxing back to neutral, coming down a little bit or not at all or a lot of it. Try to let your tailbone roll up. Just breathing and experiencing what you're experiencing. Feel the feels. And starting gently to bring yourself back up onto your hands and knees. We're going to take the left knee in, and then you're going to bring your right foot forward and take your hands up onto your thigh. Check out that you're not really short in your stance. If you're really short, it's actually going to be probably harder to balance. You want to widen this out a little bit. You're a little bit stronger. where you're taking up a little bit more space. Leave your left hand down at your knee, but don't let it fall in. You want to keep it firmly planted in that foot, and then take your right arm back. We're going to work through a couple of shapes where the tendency is going to be for this hip to lift up towards your armpit. Try to find a lot of space between your hip and your armpit. It'll make more sense later. Big exhale. And then turn to face forward. You're going to swing both arms up, lift your chest, stretch out through the front of your hip, lifting your heart. Take a big inhale. And then take your hands down. Now, I find it a little bit easier to bring the hands on the inside of the leg. You might have to widen the foot a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to start to straight-ish the leg. So that might be a straight leg, or it might be a less bent than it was before leg, but it is a straight-ish, somewhere in the vicinity of straight leg. And then, remember I talked about the hip might be trying to get up towards the armpit? We're going to gently, gently, gently start to roll that hip back away from the armpit. And notice my toes are up here. Start to turn your legs so that the knee and the toe face out to the side. Oh, my IT band. IT band is here. If you're not sure if yours is tight, you might just find out one day. It'll surprise you. One more exhale. And then you're going to turn the knee and the toe to face up. This is where things are going to start to get a little bit weird. Try to keep the hip from hiking up. You want to drop it back. You're going to have to lift yourself up a little bit. Keep your left hand down. Take your right hand to your right hip. And then start turning yourself over towards the right. It's going to make your balance weird. It's going to make all the breath weird, perhaps. And try to drop this hip down. If you're feeling really fancy, this arm might lift up, and that might mean that you fall over, and then you just get right back up again. Soften your belly. And then take your hands down. You're going to gently draw this leg back, coming back onto your hands and knees. And then we'll switch it out for the left foot, bringing that left foot forward, coming up, and then making sure that you're not super short. Like I could wiggle that foot just a little bit further forward. And then that might mean that you kind of end up back here, and then over time you work into the place where your knee is more above your ankle there. Leave your right hand down, take the left arm and reach it back. Push down into your left foot. It's going to help with that whole drawing the hip down and away from your armpit thing. It also is going to help with your balance. You're a little bit more firmly rooted to the floor. One more exhale. And turn to face forward, lift your arms up. And try not to be back here. Try to come a little bit further forward. And then everybody lift from your heart up to your hands. And everybody just got taller. Awesome. Big inhale. And then go ahead and bring your hands down. Like I said, I find it a little bit easier to be on the inside of the leg because slightly wider legs just gives you a little bit more room in the hips. And of course, then it's also easier to get your hands down to the ground. We're going to start to straight-ish the leg. Now, sometimes that brings your hips way back here behind your knee, and then that's not going to be comfy. So you might have to scoot your foot forward so you have your hips above your knee. And then I'm going to have my toes lifted up to start off with. And then gently start to turn that leg out. We saw that little shift in my hips. You probably feel a lot of shift in your hips, that external rotation. Good. Another deep breath in. And deep breath out. And then you're going to turn your knee and your toe to face up again. You got to kind of lift yourself up, give yourself a little buoyancy, and then left hand comes to left hip so that you guide it out of your armpit. And maybe you start turning over towards the left side without lifting your hip up to your armpit. Try to reach the backs of your ears out of your shoulders so you're longer in your spine. And maybe you reach your left arm up. Maybe you skip that part because it's a little bit of a wild ride. One more exhale. And then take your hand down. Go ahead and slide the left leg back. We're going to come all the way down onto our bellies. Just lay yourself down. You might wiggle the legs back a little bit. We're going to bring the hands in by the low ribs. And when we come up into cobra pose, don't worry about getting like up really high. Just try to keep your chest open. And that means you'll be probably very, very low as we move through this. So just take an inhale. Lift your heart up a little bit. Exhale, soften down. Do a couple more. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, gently lowering. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more. Inhale up. Notice how open you get. Exhale, lower. And then reach your arms back. You can reach them back on your own. I like to interlace the fingers. If you want to hold your wrists, you can. You can hold a strap or anything you have around you. I like holding hands, but do whatever you think you like. And then lift your chest up. Reach your arms back. Make sure you're getting a nice big stretch open in your chest. If you want to lift your legs, you can lift your legs. And really just think about getting the chest open. Take one more breath in. And on your exhale, lower. Release your hands if you had them bound to anything. Set anything you were holding to the side and bring your hands back to your low ribs. We're going to go up into one more cobra pose. See if you can pause there for a moment. Just notice if it's different. And then gently lower down. Pick your booty up. Push your whole chest up off the floor. Great, that was your push-up for the day. And then spread your fingertips out. Push from your heart down into your hands. You feel stronger and more expansive across the back. Take that with you as you press up and back in a downward dog. You might wiggle your head around a little bit. Kind of pedal and wiggle around the heels and the hips. One more big breath in. And breath out. And then bringing your feet towards your hands and your hands towards your feet. Just coming into a fold. You can bend your knees quite a bit. Maybe you're not even holding onto the floor. You just hold onto your shins. And let your head relax down like the backs of your ears are dripping down towards the floor. One more exhale. And little bend into your knees. Bring yourself up to standing. And then adjust the wardrobe and adjust whatever you need to come in here. We're going to go wide legs. And then turn your toes all the way over towards your right. As you bend into your right leg, you want to get your knee above your ankle and then go ahead and come down onto your elbow here. I want you to push down in that elbow so you're open in your chest. Take this arm up. I'm going wide open through my heart and I'm not going to let the heart fold in. I'm just going to take my arm and reach it out over my nose. Now push down more in that back foot, that left foot. Might get a little bit more space on that side. Try to keep the hip from going back. Try to keep it underneath you. Big inhale. Big exhale. And lift yourself up. We're just going to switch to the other side. Turn the toes all the way over to the left. These right toes are turning in a little tube. Bend your elbow. Make sure your hip's underneath you as you take your elbow down, so that means, not coming here. It's going to be right in here. Then lift that top arm up. Keep the chest open and reach that arm up and over your nose. Strong in the right foot. Reaching out through the pinky finger of the right hand. One more inhale. One more exhale. And lift yourself up. Bring your feet in together. And now you're going to set yourself up on your mat so that you've got plenty of space back behind you, or just in your space so that you've got plenty of room back behind you. You're going to bring your feet together, bend your knees, and then you're either going to say, okay, I'm going to be bent a little bit, or I'm going to be bent a lot of it, depending on how intense you want this to be. However, you're not going to be bent here, right? You want to get your weight back in your heels. You should be able to lift your toes at any time. It's going to be a little bit easier to do this with your hands at your heart. If you want to go a little bit wilder, you can reach your arms out in front of you. Stay low. Try to change almost nothing, just lift your left heel up. And if you didn't change hardly at all, you know you're really utilizing all of these outer hip and glute muscles well. So you're going to keep those engaged. You're just going to tap your left toes back behind you. And then you're going to bring them back in. And maybe you're like, I can do this lower. You might do that and tap it back, tap it in. You might reach back a little bit further and see how it goes, and then try to stay low when you come forward. Maybe you try that again. Good. And then tap back one more time. Turn your heel down. Might have to wiggle your feet out so they're a little bit wider in your warrior one. Lift your arms up. Good. Take a big breath in. And exhale. Relax your arms down. Straighten your front leg. Bring your hands to your hips. We're going to keep the hip pulled back. So you want to keep lots of room here, not letting it shorten. So we want to keep the spine long. Take your elbows back. Lead with your chest. On your exhale, come forward with your heart. You got to push strong into your feet. Lift your belly. Stand yourself back up. Then come forward again. Exhale. Inhale, coming up. Don't worry about how far you get forward. If you want this to be harder, reach your arms out to your sides. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, come up. If you want it to be really hard, you can reach your arms up by your ears. Coming forward. And then coming up. And then you might decide you want to change your arms from what you just did. Let's do one more. And then coming up. And then bring your hands to your heart. You're going to come to stand up on your front leg, your right foot, and then turn your left toes so that they're just tapping down at the floor. So I've got my hips forward, my toes face down on the back leg. I'm going to lift up and then just lean forward, trying to keep my hips parallel, or maybe I'm not really sure what that is, but my booty's working. And then stand it up. Wiggle your hips around a little bit. And then wiggle your feet closer together, sitting down a little bit or a lot, hands at the heart or arms out. You want to move as little as possible, just taking your right heel up. And maybe you do really small taps because you're not sure if you're keeping this together. Maybe you do a bigger tap. Maybe you reach back a little bit further. Maybe you try to sit a little bit lower. Maybe you do none of these things. Let's tap back one more time and then turn your heel down. And because you started with your legs together, you're going to end up in a little bit of a narrow stance. Try to find a wider stance. It's going to help. And then lift your arms up. Feel your rib cage lifting, your spine lengthening. One more breath in. Then exhale, relax the arms down, straighten the front leg. 2 straight legs, 2 strong feet. Starting with your hands at your hips, lift your chest. Take your heart forward like it's going to go over above your toenails. And then lift back up. Maybe arms out to your sides. Exhale. And then inhale, come up. Don't worry about getting parallel to the floor. I'm not. Close, not quite. If you want to get really fancy, arms go up by your ears. Not that the other ones are not fancy, and not that you have to be super fancy. Let's do one more round. And then coming up, let's go hands to the heart. Go ahead and stand up on your left leg, and you're going to come just to your right toe tips. So now the hips are all facing forward. We had the leg turned out, so it's easy for the hips to go weird. We wanted the leg to be turned squared. The hips are a little more squared. And you might reach your arms out or take your hands to your heart. But you're going to come forward with your chest. Try to keep the toes facing down. Try not to get short between the hip and the armpit. Try to stay long. And then stand yourself up. Wiggle all of the things out. And then look down at your feet. You want them to be about hip width distance apart. We're going to come down into a fold. If you feel like your arms, you wish they were longer and you want a block or a stack of books or a couple records underneath your hands, do that. You'll take your hands down. And you can have both legs bent. You don't need to have either of them straight, but I want you to make your right leg more bent. You're going to bend it more. And then this is going to start to stretch out, especially if you were to take your left hand up or your left hand to your hip, or just kind of look over there left. Let this hip get a little sassy. One more exhale. And then switch sides. And take your left hand down, bend your left leg more than the right leg. The right hip kind of popping out a little bit. You might take your hand to your hip. You might lift it up. You could do that too. Either way is fine. One more, exhale. And then both hands down, bend your knees. Go ahead and bring yourself back up to standing. Okay. What you might do is if you have a block or you have anything that you want to use, you could go ahead and grab it now because it might become a little bit more useful to you in a moment. I'm going to take mine behind my right foot, find my legs out really wide, and we're going to shift into triangle pose. I know it's dark, I'm wearing black, I have a practically black background, but you're going to shift your hips over, so now your left hip is up higher, and then roll your left hip forward a little bit. Now come down into triangle. So you might have your hand here, you might have your hand here, might make a fort of many blocks. And then make sure you're not falling down into the shoulder. You want to lift your chest up. You might take this arm up. Then if you had your left hand, bring it back down to your hip. Look down. You're going to need to move this back foot. And you're going to move it in front of you. Boom. So now you have a little bit more space right to left between your legs as you look down at your right foot. This is a little bit weird. You might need to come up a little bit. I need you to move the block to the other side or just switch hands so that you're holding your shin or your hands here or your hands here or your hands here. All right? Lots of things. And now you've been looking over towards your left. I need you to start looking over towards the right. Notice if your hip is coming up towards your armpit, trying to turn it back. Strong in both of your feet. One more exhale. And start to lift yourself up. And we're going to shift back to that one long line that our legs are on. We're going to shift the feet over. So now they're going over towards the left. If you were using a block, go ahead and grab it. Put it behind your foot. We're going to shift the hips over. Let the top hip turn forward slightly. And then the hand comes down to the shin or to a block or to the floor or a chair that you have strategically positioned. You could reach your arm up. You could leave your hand at your hip. It's up to you. Try to reach the backs of your ears out of your shoulders so you're long all the way through your spine. Big inhale. Big exhale. Then bring your hand back to your hip. You're going to lift yourself up. You're going to take this foot and bring it forward. You might have to shift. You could take hand to your hip and hand to the block, or you shift the block and you have it right underneath your shoulder. And then pull your left hip back away from your right shoulder. Start looking, or left hip away from the left shoulder. Look over to the left. Sometimes I get very confused when I am mirroring you. I lose my mind entirely. I didn't have a firm grasp on it to begin with, to be perfectly honest. One more exhale. And then relax your twist. Go ahead and stand yourself up and bring your legs in. This is going to be our last one of our last standing things. It's going to be probably the hardest thing that we will do the whole rest of our time here. I'm going to face you, and then I'm going to mirror you. So your right side. Yeah. So we're going to have the right side be the standing side. You'd want to try to have your hip above your foot. So try not to let things lean forward or back too much. You're going to take your left hand, and you can bring it down here. If you want to bend your legs and have the fingertips on the floor or on a chair on your couch, anything at all. So notice I've got a little bit of space here. I'm not like hand in front of my leg. Take right hand to the right hip. Then I'm going to come to the left toe. See that back there? You could stay here. Maybe you lift the leg up. If you're lifting the leg, try not to lift, uneven in the hips. You see my hips back there? I'm going to lift both of them. And then look to the right. I'm not trying to have you hold here for a really long time, so just bear with me. If you need to come out, come out. Maybe you open the arm. Notice I'm not at 6 o'clock. I'm not fully, I could get a little bit more twisted. Oh, that's hard. And then set your foot and your hand down. Bend your knees, bring yourself up. And then go to the other side. I'm gonna face to the side this time. So I'm gonna have hand underneath, we'll just hit the mic, sorry. Hand underneath your shoulder, hips are above my foot. I'm now standing, you're gonna stand on your left leg, right toes are back. The hips stay even. I might lift the leg. I might start turning over more towards the right. I'm gonna lift both of my hips. Maybe I reach the arm out. Maybe I don't. Maybe you breathe again. Exhale, set your foot down, gently bring yourself back up to standing. Honestly, Revolve Half Moon is a mental exercise just as much as it is a really hard arrangement of limbs, and then you're like asked to stand on one leg. It's madness, but you made it through. I'm gonna do a little bit more outer hip IT band stretching before we go down to the floor. So take your right leg and cross it back behind you. You're gonna hold onto your right wrist, lift it up and over, side bend to the left. As you're doing this, try to push more into your back foot. That's going to create more of this length on that side body. One more exhale. And then come up. Keep your legs crossed. Come forward into a fold. You might grab a block in front of you or just decide to hold your shins. Try to push down a little bit more in your back foot. Now, if this is a lot, if you feel a lot, if you would like this to be enough, this is enough. If you want more stretch on the outside of your back thigh, you're going to walk your hands over a little bit more towards the left. And you also might start pushing down, or either or, might start pushing down more into the big toe edges of your feet. If you need less, do the opposite of that. Less pressure in the big toe edges. One more breath out. And walk it back to facing forward. If you walk to the side, try to keep your legs crossed and lift yourself up. Switch the cross of your legs. So now you have your right leg in front. We'll come reach up and hold onto the left arm. Side bend, push more into your back foot. Big inhale. Big exhale. And coming up, coming forward. Take your hands down, shins, block, floor. Try to relax your fold. Push into the big toe edges if you want more. Maybe walk your hands over towards the right if you want more. If you don't want more, you just stay where it's a place for you to breathe, and that's your space and your work. One more exhale. If you went to the side, come back to the center. Keep your legs crossed if you can. Stand yourself up. Uncross your legs. Now, wherever the front of your space is, the front of your mat is, you're going to go ahead and stand yourself up there. Leave your feet about hip width apart. Take your arms up and reach your heart up into your hands nice and long. Maybe you feel that like length from your upper back up into your arms. Take another breath of air in. And then exhale, hold it down. Bend your knees as much as you need. Plant your hands down and walk your feet back. Find downward facing dog. And in this downward facing dog, push from your heart into your hands, from your armpits to your hands. Find that same kind of openness, expansiveness, strength, and power you had standing on your feet like a sensible person. Try to relax your neck. Relax your heels. One more exhale. Gently releasing your knees down. You're going to widen the knees, untuck your toes, sit your hips back to your heels. If your knees don't like this, maybe your hips are up higher. If your knees don't like this either, just lay down on your belly. A child's pose can feel nice to kind of stretch out the back, maybe wiggle your hips side to side. So you always get to choose. Just letting your breath soften. Take one more exhale. And start to walk your hands in. You're going to lift yourself up. And laying on your belly, you'll need to come up into a seat, and we're going to swing the legs out in front of us. From here, take your right leg in. If this feels great, cool. If you can cross it over, awesome. If you cannot cross it over, also awesome. Just put it back where it was. I'm going to lift my left toes, hug my right thigh with my left arm, and take my right hand behind me, not to where I'm leaning, but to where I'm just supported. Then lift up, and on your exhale, soften your belly and try to pull this knee in a little bit more towards the center. If you've got the space and the room for it, just going to get this a little more. One more exhale. And then relax your twist. Just look over your left shoulder for a moment and come back to the center. And if you had the leg crossed over, you're going to uncross it, but you're going to leave it there. Turn your knee open, and now turn your torso more towards your bent knee. Slide this arm out your leg. Reach your right arm up and over. Yeah, I'm not marrying you now, I'm sorry. Good. One more inhale. One more exhale. And then coming up, you're just going to slide the right leg forward, take your left leg in. It stays here or it crosses over, and it might not even be the same thing that it did on the other side. Hug the thigh. Left hand is in for support. Right toes are lifted. It helps my spine to feel like it's going to be lifted. And then as you twist over to the left, keep drawing your left leg into the center, dropping both hips down, lifting up tall through your torso. Soft, squishy belly. Last exhale like this. And then unwind the twist. Just take a breath to twist over your right shoulder, and then come back to the center. If you had the leg crossed, uncross it, bring the foot down, turn the knee out, and then you're going to turn your body towards your bent leg. Take your straight leg, reach your arm down it, and then open up through the chest. Take that open chest into the reach of your arm up and over. Relax this left hip down. Big breath in. Big breath out. Then coming up, unwinding yourself, sending the legs forward. In fact, go ahead and scoot yourself forward and come all the way down onto your back. If you want to set yourself up any specific way for Shavasana, or you are like feeling a little chilly, you need some socks, you need a hoodie, whatever you got to get, make sure you grab it. We got a couple more things to go, but we're going to end down here as we are now. Take your right ankle and cross it on top of your left ankle. Reach outside of your legs and hold your knees, your shins, your ankles, or your feet. And then probably your hips hiked up a bit. Go ahead and relax them down. That's just an intention, not a it must be that way. They don't have to get all the way down. You just relax them. And then you can stay here, or you're going to change to having thigh on top of thigh. So I'm crossed at the knees, not at the ankles. So it's going to be a little bit spicier. You might reach for your ankles. I have an easier time relaxing my hips down in this one, but it feels more intense. One more round of breath. And you're going to release your legs, unwind them. We're going to take left ankle on top of right this time. And then you'll reach outside and hold on to your feet or your ankles, your shins or your knees. It doesn't matter. Find some place that you can hang on to and that you can still breathe in. Then you might stay here, or you might adjust to where knee is crossed on knee. Maybe that means you hold a different place on your legs. We'll again relax the hips down, try to soften your shoulders, maybe even softening the muscles in your face. Just taking some deep breaths in this deep hip stretch. One more breath out. And then unwinding your legs, go ahead and set the feet down. Wiggle your feet a little bit wider. Take your arms out in a way that's comfortable to you. Gently roll the knees over to one side and then over towards the other. Just softly, easily moving from side to side. Maybe you've got about one more round, or finish up with the side that you're on. Come back to the center and wiggle your feet a little bit closer together. Take your left leg and cross it on top of your right leg. So you've got that thigh on top of thigh. And then bump your hips a little bit over towards the left. Then as your legs come over, you're either going to catch yourself at your foot, which is going to be a less intense twist, or you let the legs roll all the way over. I got to be honest, I don't love this most days. If you do that, I recommend reaching your left arm up closer to your head. I'm going to stop at the foot. Plenty. Soften your belly and your rotations. One more exhale. Then unwind your legs to come back to the center. You'll probably appreciate that. Gotta probably wiggle your hips around, finding center again. And then right thigh on top of left thigh. Little bump of the hips over towards your left or to your right, and then you take the legs over to the left. If you're gonna cross more, maybe you bring the arm up. That tends to feel better in the shoulder, but your mileage may vary. You do what you need to do. You go just as much into this as you can feel some stretch, some space, some softness in your center. One more breath out. And unwind your legs, come back to the center, bring your hips back to center, wiggle your feet wider, let your knees knock against each other. Take a hand to your belly and a hand to your heart, pausing for a few moments to check in. If there are any other movements or stretches or shifts that your body would like feeling like, oh, I need to do this one extra thing. Do the extra thing. If you want to take a seated meditation, if you want to put your legs up the wall, if you want to stay like this, you can stay like this. Anything at all that you want to do to get yourself set up to rest. What you might do is stretch the legs out, let the feet flop open, and just drop your arms by your sides. If you've got arms dropped by your sides, no matter what position your legs are in, see if you can wiggle your shoulder blades just a little bit underneath your heart. That tends to help the chest stay a little more open. Then we'll settle into this rest, letting go of the control of your breath. We'll spend a few minutes like this before we wrap up together. Enjoy. Starting to come back to your body. Taking some deeper breaths. Maybe you make some little movements in your fingers and toes that help you to wake up. And eventually rolling yourself over to one side. Just take this moment to pause, to turn inwards. Gratitude for being able to share this practice together from all over the world. And when you're ready, finding your own version of a comfortable seat, set however it makes sense for your body. Maybe this lets you bring your hands to your heart. And we'll seal and end our practice, releasing one big Om together. Big inhale. Bowing down to honor the light and the darkness, the love within each of our hearts. Namaste.